everyone, welcome to another Grimgar video. Today we're going to be talking about what D&D stats would Hadahiro, the main character of Grimgar, have. If you want to know the exact way we're getting these D&D stats, please check out my first video where I talk about Ronta stats. And if you want to see me do more D&D stats for characters in Grimgar, please get this video to 100 likes. The last time we did this, you guys got to 100 likes pretty quickly, and I appreciate it. And please do not forget that we are doing a push over on my Twitch to get me to 500 followers. If we get to 500 followers, we do a giant drinking game with me and my friends. If you want to know more, check this video in the card section. And let's begin. Quite frankly, this video is probably going to be a bit of a hot take for some of you. I don't know. Because Hadahiro, narratively speaking, is more or less average across the board, at least when he's starting out. And his first stat is going to be physical strength, and he doesn't really ever show much physical strength, if any at all. As a matter of fact, it's kind of implied that he's pretty average at strength. Like, he's not super strong, and the only real feat we have in the first volume that Hadahiro is physically-ish strong is him grappling with a goblin. And, well, yes, it was an armored goblin. It's not exactly the most impressive physical feat. In the first volume of Grimgar, because we are only taking into account the first volume of Grimgar, he doesn't actually get the kill. Moguzu comes in and chops his head off. Hadahiro is still able to kind of contend with this goblin, at least for a little bit. Goblins in Grimgar are about the same strength as young children, if I'm being completely honest. And the armored goblin was actually a little bigger than average mud goblins. And while the armored goblin itself is bigger than the other goblins, it's not much stronger, honestly. This would honestly be a lot more impressive if the armored goblin was a hobgoblin, because hobgoblins are physically stronger than normal goblins, but the armored goblin was just slightly bigger, so I'm going to assume it's at least slightly stronger. And being slightly stronger than a child isn't really all that impressive. Not really anything showing that he's super strong, super weak, anything like that. So I would personally give Hadahiro a very fair stat of just 10. Like, he's not the worst at physical strength, but he's not the best at physical strength. The next stat is dexterity. Now, in dexterity, this is probably going to come in conflict with story and a stat system. So, essentially, in the very early part of Grimgar, Hadahiro's getting hit quite a lot, actually. And he's also implied to be one of the characters in their story that gets healed by Monoto the most, because he's always getting hit. However, later on in the story, he is seen dodging attacks, getting hits on goblins, and being a little more mobile. So, at worst, Hadahiro's probably a 10 or a 9. At best, he's probably a 11 or 12. So, let's be charitable for him and just give him a 12. And by the way, for anyone who's curious, 12 is able to often hit large targets, which, admittedly, Hadahiro doesn't have much of a hard time hitting large targets. So, it works. He does actually get hits on the bigger goblin, and even gets hits on the smaller goblin, so it's not like the craziest thing. So, it works. Constitution. Okay. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what to give him for Constitution. Like, if I'm being completely honest, he's not exactly the most durable dude ever. He's not as durable as Ronta or Moguzu, and he often is complaining about how tired he is all the time in the first volume. As much as I like Hadahiro, he's definitely one of the characters, at least in early Grimgar, that does often say, hey, we're all tired, I'm exhausted, let's go home, and doesn't want to keep going in combat and getting money from the goblins because he's just so out of it. But he's not exactly as weak as, like, other people. He could be a lot worse. So I'd be willing to give him, at bare minimum, a 10 or 11 in Constitution. Because, honestly, from all the descriptions that I see on the screen right now, he doesn't really chalk up to a 12 or a 13, which says, can take a few hits before being knocked unconscious. And while he's never outright knocked unconscious in the first light novel, he gets shot by a crossbow in the shoulder and is just down and can't do anything because of the pain immediately. But later on, he does have a rematch with the armored goblin. He does take a few hits. So at the very least, I could give him a 10. At the very most, I give him a 12. And I think I'll meet them in the middle and just give him a straight up 11. Which, if you know D&D, so far he's very average. Which, funny enough, actually works with Hadahiro's character. Intelligence. Oh, okay. This one's actually going to be a little interesting. Because Hadahiro, starting out in Grimgar, is kind of a moron. But he's not actually as dumb as you'd expect, especially the way the intelligence is described on DMing with Charisma's website, which is what I'm taking these stats off of. For example, the stat that is under average, which is a 8 or 9, is has trouble following trains of thought. Forgets most unimportant thing. Hadahiro doesn't really forget the most unimportant thing in the first light. Now, he doesn't have trouble remembering stuff like that. He doesn't have, like, trouble with trains of thought either. 10 or 11, however, gives him knows what they need to know to get by. to Haruhiro's credit, he does know enough about the world and about his friends, at least in the later part of Volume 1. When he is forced to actually think and he is forced to retain more information, he does start using his brain more. The problem with comparing these stats to Grimgar specifically is because Haruhiro doesn't need to do all this stuff because of Minato being around. The moment Minato is not there, Haruhiro is forced to actually use his brain more. So in the first half of the first light novel, Haruhiro would probably be more around a 10, but later on at the end of Volume 1, when he starts actually using his brain a lot more, he starts actually being smart, he sounds a lot more like a 12 or 13. Knows a fair bit more than is necessary. Fairly logical, which he is pretty logical later on. However, he does get called out multiple times for being an idiot and coming up with bad plans by Mary. And this is where it gets interesting, because these bad plans were not necessarily made by Haruhiro. These are the plans that Minato came up with because Minato had to be part of the front lines because everyone was such garbage at their jobs. And this is essentially what got Minato killed. Minato had to be in the front lines because of necessity, because he had to be there to help everyone because how bad everyone was. Haruhiro doesn't know this, or at least he doesn't really fully grasp this at first. After Mary starts calling him out on it, he does start putting two and together and starts realizing that he shouldn't put her in the front lines and he should be having her in the back protecting their mage. And he should be out there trying harder and being a better fighter. Due to the fact that there's such a huge difference between him later on in Volume 1 and him early on in Volume 1 when it comes to his intelligence, I'm willing to give him at bare minimum a 12, maybe at low 11. But again, it's Haruhiro. Let's be nice to the poor bastard and just give him a 12. Next, Wisdom. And we're actually starting him off right at 12 or 13. Able to tell when someone is upset, which Haruhiro throughout the volume is actually pretty good at picking up how people feel. Now, whether or not he actually does something about this is iffy, because sometimes he knows that certain things are happening off in the background, and he's able to tell that Yume and Chihiro are upset when they bring in Mary without talking to them. So Haruhiro is very, very perceptive. However, I'm willing to actually say that 14 and 15 actually describe him even better. Able to get hunches that something is not right. Haruhiro does actually get bad feelings throughout the entire first light novel, especially before they jump into the fight with the armored goblin and the hobgoblin. He does get a sense for things being incorrect, and he feels like he shouldn't do this, but they do it anyway, which we know how that goes. They got the shooter. You can definitely make the argument that this is just his personality. He's very pessimistic, so he always thinks something wrong is going to happen, which, to be fair, it usually does. But there is a moment in the fight itself that lets you know that he does actually sense danger pretty well. At one point, the armored goblin pulls out what he thinks is a crossbow, and he immediately, before it even shoots at them, pulls down Yume and Chihiro and takes a bolt to the lung for them. Keep in mind, by this point, he's never seen a crossbow in Grimgar, and he just knew it was gonna be a problem. Now, this also has to do with the memory erasing subplot, which I'm not going to get into in this video, but it does actually show you that he knows, hey, crap, this is dangerous, I gotta protect the girls and then pull them out of the way. And he reacts pretty quickly to it, too. So we're actually going to give Haruhiro's Wisdom a 15. And Charisma. I'm going to keep it above 50. Haruhiro's like a fucking 10. He's not bad, but he's not great. He's very much just a 10. Like, check this shit out. Charisma level 10. Capable of polite conversation. And if we go even higher than that, which it doesn't really sound like Haruhiro for me at least, mildly interesting. Fuck! From the way that the whole world treats Haruhiro, he's not really mildly interesting. Regardless how we feel about him, but it is what it is. And knows what to say to the right people, which unfortunately, Haruhiro doesn't really know what to say to the right people, or at the very least, not yet. He does eventually start to understand the best way to deal with Ranta is to more or less ignore him and to praise him, for example, for small things if he wants him to actually do what he wants him to do. He does eventually get practice in talking with people that he's not really good at talking with the Tokis, like in volume 5 and 6, and he kind of starts to understand how to get around what he wants people to do, but it's a struggle for him. And he doesn't get that well into doing that early in the light novels, so we're going to leave him at just a 10 for now. And here is what Haruhiro's stats would look like if he was in a D&D campaign. Yeah, he's not exactly the best, but he doesn't have anything in the negatives. He's just, as the story implies, very average. Which I think is actually pretty funny that his actual D&D stats match his narrative implications, which I think that's actually really cool. But let me know what characters you guys want me to talk about next in this D&D stat mini series things that I'm doing here on this page. I'll be putting up another poll for you guys to vote on, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Please do not forget about the whole drinking game thing that I really am trying to push over on my Twitch, so please check me out on my Twitch. Really want to get to 500 followers, and I really want to do that fun drinking game with my friends, because, God, we're gonna get fucked up. Anywho, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!